So, Coach, obviously, with the changes in play calling, when you examine this offense through 7 games, what are some of the biggest areas you feel you guys can improve?
I just think the overall consistency, when we execute, I think there have been good plays there that we haven't always either blocked or thrown an accurate throw or caught the ball. There's a lot of different factors, but I just think our overall consistency in execution has to get better.
How do you feel like having a different voice in terms of the play calls could help?
I told the players, it's hard to just put it on one person. That's not fair, but we're going to do our best uh, job of creating a plan. I think sometimes it's just a different flow, a little bit different rhythm. That's all I really can say about it. I don't think it's anything magical. I don't, we're not going to wholesale change everything. We'll tweak a little bit here and there, but we have to just as a group execute better all around and put our guys in the best position to make plays.
It's obviously a holistic thing that you're looking at, but the run game is something in particular the guys have talked about really wanting to make strides. And I'm wondering, how you feel like this group can do that.
Yeah, when you're able to run the ball on your terms, you can dictate a lot. You get the play actions are better. Your passing game overall improves. When you're able to keep them off balance with runs and throws. It's just better. You can control the line of scrimmage, at the clock. There's a lot of positives to running the ball well. So we absolutely want to do that. And sometimes you have to throw to get that open, and sometimes you can lean on them and repeat calls and pound a team. So it is kind of the game you're in. But we would like to be able, obviously, to run the ball more effectively.
We saw a lot more of Jabari last weekend. How do you see that unfolding? Are you going to make a change? Continue to go in the direction you're going? Where do you see that?
Yeah, I don't think probably a crazy change right now. I think as we did play him more, I think we were able to move the ball at times, and he gave us a little spark, kind of on the perimeter with some of his scrambles and the ability to move the pocket and just get extra, off schedule plays. So not nothing crazy in terms of our plan, but I think using him like we did will help us.
What was your reaction to Jabari's comments about, effort and, the inconsistency of that came in, came out from
Yeah,
different guys?
I think you know y- I got to be careful with that. But you make a comment like that, you got to make sure that it's completely accurate. I don't. That's a pretty broad statement for a team that in a leadership role. I think you got to look at yourself and you got to look at really what you're saying about that. I feel like we've had a lot of guys that have poured a lot into this program. Have we had at times a guy not finish very well? Sure. You know, so to just say we've got quitters or bad effort all around, I don't think that's accurate. But obviously, when you have lost games, there are things you got to fix, and you can point a lot of fingers at different things, and you can just try to play better consistently, not turn it over, create explosive plays, like all the things you have to do to win the game is what I'm trying to focus on.
When a season gets to a point where there's questions about what there's left to play for this year, and you're maybe starting to look ahead a little bit, is there value in maybe providing some opportunities for Tristan or Callan down the road, or are you just honestly worried about putting something on tape in this NIL environment?
Yeah,
How do you balance that?
yeah, that's a good question. It's different than it used to be. I think that we've got to put ourselves in the best chance to win the game. That's what we're trying to do. And I'm not really looking that far ahead. I told the offense we should be thinking, one day at a time. And with the way this thing goes these days, we all are all showing our resume to whomever. So, whether it's a new coach or staff or a team or the NFL, that's the world we're in. And sadly, you don't really have time to build a program like he used to. So we are trying to all go in the same direction, but there's different motivations for everybody. And, we're trying to win this game. So I don't see a bunch of changes in terms of personnel really. But that's kind of a long-winded answer, but it's a different time that we're in for sure.
You mentioned communication and inconsistency being an issue. I guess from an offensive play calling standpoint, how do you approach fixing that? Is it simplifying things down? Is it, I know you're not reinventing the wheel entirely, but is it more kind of going from that? Like how, I know you're kind of now tasked with kind of getting things back on track on the offensive side. So just wondering how it would work.
I think it's all, I don't think it's just one. I think it's everybody communicating the plan better to each other within the group, the calls up front, the quarterback to the receivers, the receivers to each other, and if they're working together on a particular block or a pattern. I mean, that's a pretty blanket statement,
Yeah.
but I think probably the best way to say is being on the same page. And if we're all going the same direction together and doing the right thing on a play, we'll have more success in terms of execution. So that's really what we're focused on.
Right now, how is Malik handling the challenge of this season? Obviously, he came here with, higher ambitions. Obviously, there's a lot of investment in him. Like what's his
Yeah, I think and I've been real honest with him. There's been ups and downs. There's been some times where he's looked really good, and there's been times that he has to play better. And I'm not being overly critical. That's just the truth, and I've said that right to his face. So again, execution and the consistency of playing. If we can improve that, we'll be better off.
And how has he responded to that with Jabari getting more playing time? I know, well, as a competitor that can't really sit too well internally, but how has he?
Yeah, he's a team player. He's been supportive. It's a good quarterback room in terms of helping each other out and communicating and being encouraging. So there's not been any problems. He's handled it great. Obviously you want to take every snap if you're a real competitor. So there's no doubt there's probably that in his mind, but he's been a good leader, a good captain, and he's handled all of what's gone on really well.
For one more. You're obviously you're an Oregon State guy. What's the last few days been like for you and in your experience? This is obviously not how you were hoping things were going to go when you came back here.
No, I think everybody had a lot higher expectations. Obviously, there's no doubt about that. But also, we've been challenged in some games, and it hasn't gone our way as well as everybody would have wished for. And it's a hard business. You've got some changes with some really good coaches and good people, and sadly that's how this thing goes quickly these days. And I don't really believe in it or agree with it, but I'm not out of my control. So we're trying to do the best for Oregon State and get a win, and that's what our focus is.